With summer over and classes back in session here at the Hall, Seaon Hall's volleyball and men's and women's soccer teams, as well as HallTalk, are also back. The volleyball team has started off their season strong by winning 6 of their first 9 matches, including a 3-match sweep in Walsh Gymnasium. For their first 8 matches, the women's soccer team has dominated the home pitch at O&T Carroll Field with 4 wins and only 1 loss, but have gone winless in 3 road matches thus far. The men's soccer team began their season with a 3-game winning streak of all shutouts, but have not won in their 2 matches since then. Will the volleyball team be able to continue their success at Penn State this weekend? Can the women's soccer team figure it out on the road when they open Big East play at Providence next week? Will the men's soccer team get back on the winning track in their first Big East match of the season at home against Georgetown this Friday? We'll touch on all this and more. My name is Nick Masturzo, and this is the season premiere of HallTalk. Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of HallTalk. I'm Nick Masturzo, joined with my co-host Joey Nardone, back in the studio, ready to talk some Seaon Hall sports and get this brand new season of HallTalk off to a good start. Joey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nick. Glad to be back here on HallTalk, talking some volleyball, men's and women's soccer. It's going to be a great time.
Yep. So let's get things started with the volleyball team. They're off to a good start. They won 5 straight matches, and after losing their first match of the season, and that included 3 straight wins in Walsh Gymnasium as part of the Seaon Hall Classic. But they've fallen off a little bit since then. This past weekend, they had 3 games out at the Dartmouth Invitational, New Hampshire. They lost the first 2 against Dartmouth and Hofstra, and then they won the last one against Stonehill. And just looking at those 2 losses, they were losses to 2 very kind of different teams. Dartmouth didn't have a win in 3 matches going into the match against Seaon Hall. Hofstra was 8-1 when they faced Seaon Hall. So what does that say about this Seaon Hall team? They had a 5-game winning streak before losing to a winless team and then losing to a team that had only lost 1 match out of 9. And do you think there should be any concern with the team right now, or were they just like unlucky in those 2 matches?
Well, I don't think we should be raising the alarm bells just yet for the volleyball team. We are a very young team, that Seaon Hall volleyball team, and you did mention how the home advantage is really crucial for the volleyball team. And I think that goes for any sort of volleyball. The Walsh Gymnasium gets very loud and very in favor of the Pirates. But you look at the 2 losses. A strong team, 8-1 that they lost to. Hard to go into that game with an exorbitant amount of confidence. And especially as a young team, it's going to be hard going into that game with that confidence. But then you lost to the not as strong team there, and I think that's just showing signs of the beginning of the season. We're still pretty early on here in this volleyball season, and there's a lot to go on still.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you just said. And there's also been a lot of bright spots on this team. A whole bunch of players doing a whole bunch of things. Outside and right side here, Malene Metheny. She was named to the Big East Weekly Honor Roll last week. She leads the team in points with 89 and kills with 82. She was named to the UC Irvin Invitational All-Tournament team at the beginning of the season. That was their first tournament. She averaged 3.38 kills per set and 3.13 digs per set in that tournament. Outside her, Senna Roberts Navarro was also named to that same all-tournament team, where she had averaged 3 kills per set and 1.5 digs per set. And then you had outside hitter Perry Lucas. She was named to the Seaon Hall Classic All-Tournament team when they won all 3 of those matches here at Walsh Gymnasium. Perry Lucas averaged 3.11 kills per set and a .254 attack percentage in that tournament. And then you've also had a bunch of players with double-doubles. Sarah Taylor Jakubowski, she has 6 double-doubles already in just 9 games. Sarah Maddie Klungel has 4 double-doubles. Outside hitter Jenna Walsh has a double-double. And then Riley Nelson, a freshman, defensive specialist. She was named Big East Freshman of the Week after the first weekend of matches a few weeks ago. So based on what we're seeing with these players, this team is dominant. They're talented. They have what they need to win. But they're going to be facing a number 13 nationally ranked Penn State team who's 4-3, and a 5-3 UMBC team this weekend in the Penn State Invitational at Penn State. So how do you think they're going to fare in those two games?
Yeah, going into this final tournament before conference play starts, I believe this is the final litmus test for this team. You have very strong teams you're going up against in Penn State, away from home, and I think you're really going to see how these Pirates go away from home and try and get that win for that end of tournament, last tournament before conference play starts. Like I said, I think this is the last kind of test in the waters. You've seen who's going to be the big stars for this team already in the first couple of tournaments, first couple of games, and I think as conference play starts, this is the final lock-in for that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how this unranked Seton Hall team handles a top 15 nationally ranked team in Penn State on their home court at Penn State, and a UMBC team that's pretty even with them record-wise, and you can even throw Penn State in there with the record-wise. All three teams only have 3 losses so far. But now moving on to women's soccer, they defeated Lemoyne 4-0 at home on Sunday for their 4th win of the season, but still remain without a win on the road, which is really big right now because they open Big East play on the road at Providence next week. So what were your overall impressions of their season so far in that Lemoyne game? They won 4-0, and it was just like a big game to lead them into conference play.
Yeah, a little bit alarming. No wins on the road yet so far for that women's soccer team, but we really have to highlight some crucial players so far. Natalie Tavon has been absolutely doing amazing. 8 games so far. She's only played in 7 of them. 7 goals, 1 assist. That's wild. And I think she's going to be the talismanic leader for this Lady Pirates squad to move on throughout this entire season. But, like you said, not a win on the road yet. A little bit concerning. Now, as conference play starts, I think matchups are going to be a bit more even. Before conference play, you're playing against some stronger teams, some weaker sides. You never know. You're still working out some kinks in the lineup. But as conference play starts, I think you're going to see the Seton Hall Pirates are not going to go 0 wins on the road. So this entire women's soccer season, that's for sure.
Yeah, as you mentioned, conference play, very different than non-conference play. A lot more energy, a lot bigger games, a lot more meaning to them. But looking at how this women's soccer team is playing at home versus on the road, at home they've played 5 games. They've won 4 of those games. 3 of those wins were shutouts. They've scored 11 goals. They've only allowed 5 goals. And the teams that they played were Lafayette in the opener, Central Connecticut State, Binghamton, Ryder, and Lemoyne. All those teams, aside from Lafayette, still currently only have 1 or 2 wins through 6, 7, 8 games. So they pretty much did, in those 5 home games, what they needed to do. They went 4-1. The loss to Lafayette, that was their first game. Lafayette has a 4-2 record now, so it's pretty comparable. They also had a lot of special moments at home. They've had 3 players score their first career goals on the home pitch at O&T Carroll Field. They had forward Audria Kissinger score the lone goal against Lafayette in their 4-1 loss. They had Caroline Lipton score the lone goal in their 1-0 shutout to Ryder, and midfielder Riley Balser scored the final goal in the 4-0 win over Lemoyne. As you mentioned, they had Natalie Tavana. She's been great. She had the program's first hat trick since 2006 in the shutout against Binghamton to earn her Big East Offensive Player of the Week honors that week. That same week, Morgan Fedoswicki was named Big East Goalkeeper of the Week, and defender Lily Camacho was named Big East Freshman of the Week. You mentioned Tavana's team leading 7 goals. She also has a team leading 15 points. And to put that into perspective, no one else on that team has more than 1 goal or 4 points, so she has just been dominant. And now turning to the road side of it, they've played 3 games. They have no wins on the road. They had 1 draw. They only scored 3 goals with 1 in each game, and they've allowed 6 goals. And in those games, they played LaSalle, Marist, and Yale. And looking at those 3 teams, LaSalle was 1-3 overall going into it, and 0-2 at home. LaSalle's it should also be noted that LaSalle's victory over Seton Hall is still their only home win. In Marist, they were 0-1 going in against Seton Hall, and that was the one game that they drawed. And then Yale, that's a little bit of a different story because Yale was 3-1 going into that game against Seton Hall. But they really need to fix this road troubles they're having because they, like we said before, they were going into Providence to start Big East play this week. Providence is currently 4-0 at home and can be 5-0 after this weekend when they play Columbia at home. So what does this team need to do in order to start winning on the road and open conference play on the right foot against Providence and hopefully get a win?
Yeah, on the road in soccer is a big deal, especially when you have the fans behind you. But I'm really looking at the defense, the defensive strategies. I think so far, Chiara Pucci and Lily Camacho, the two center back pair, have been very good. But you have to be giving them a lot of slack. I mean, Lily Camacho, she just won Big East Freshman of the Week. And, that's not something that you can call on a freshman to be doing all so much as being a full-time center back in college ball. That's a hard task for the young freshman. But she has that partner with Chiara Pucci, who is a junior and has played lots and lots of games in that center back position under Coach Josh Osett. And so they know what they're looking for. But I think you're going to have to see some scoring, maybe not come only from Natalie Tavana. Especially in conference play, you're going to have teams scouting you beforehand. And on the road, they're going to be having that home advantage. I think Tavana is going to have to be playing off the ball a bit more. She likes having the ball, likes controlling the play of the game, but I think it's going to be more in her control to get the ball out and around from her feet, to get some other Pirates on the board, because that's going to be the crucial to their success for winning a few more games, especially in conference play.
Yeah, it's very important that they sort of spread the wealth in terms of goals, because Natalie Tavana scoring all these goals isn't going to win you every single game, and other players need to start producing a little bit. But turning from the women's soccer team to the men's soccer team, they started their season out pretty good with 3 straight shutout wins, including 2 at home before being shut out 1-0 by Indiana and finishing in a 1-1 draw with Harvard. Both of those games were on the road. And now they begin conference play this Friday with Georgetown at home. And looking at those Indiana and Harvard games, they were 2 pretty similar matches against 2 teams that you could consider to be quite different. Seton Hall kept both of those games close. Indiana, going into the game, was a number 10 nationally ranked team at the time. And Harvard, they didn't have a win yet. They weren't ranked. They were 0-1 going in, and to put that in perspective, they still don't have a win. They're 0-2. So what do you make of that? Do you think Indiana was ranked too high? Did they catch the Pirates did the Pirates catch them on one of their off days? Is the Pirates defense just that good? What do you think it was that caused those winless games for them?
Yeah, so with Seton Hall men's soccer, they love playing a defensive game and a defensive formation. Coach Andreas Wimberg, all the way out from Sweden, loves playing a very, very defensive formation. 4 center backs, 2 center defensive mids, and then a few guys up top. And that helps you in games where you're playing against teams of stronger competition, where you can absorb a lot of pressure, like, say, a ranked Indiana team. They're coming at you hard with a lot of attackers and a lot of force. It's a great formation to accept a lot of pressure against a stronger team. But when you're facing perhaps weaker sides or a bit more even sides, it's harder to get that offense rolling. Now, you do have Andre Borg up top, 2 goals, 2 assists so far in the season for the Pirates, but they're lacking that crucial goal scorer. Right now, second in goal scoring is James Boot, who's the captain of the team, yes, but he's a center defensive midfielder, and he's not someone that they should be relying on scoring all of their goals. And he's not going to be their main goal scorer throughout the whole season. And I think that's the problem with the men's soccer team as of right now, is that they are lacking that key, crucial goal scorer. And as much as it is very impressive that they are able to accept all that pressure, and I think it's going to help them facing up against stronger opponents, especially if you go further on into conference play, and as you go on, hopefully make the Big East tournament and maybe even the NCAA tournament, that's the right move. But I think they're going to have to change up some things in conference play when you're playing against similarly ranked teams and similarly strong teams, with going up in the offensive third.
Yeah. So you were talking about their offense. They definitely need to have a little bit more offense. So far, they've only had 6 goals in 5 games, and there were 3 of those goals came in 1 game, so really it was more like 3 goals in 4 games. And if you have more games than goals scored, you're not going to win many games. And you also mentioned James Boot. He has 2 goals so far this season, as so does forward Andrea Borg. Boot was named to the Big East Weekly Honor Roll after the first week of play, where he scored both of his goals on the season so far. So he hasn't scored since the first week of matches. And then defenders Sam Bajork and forward Tim Strabeck each have a goal too. But you need more offense from them. You need players to score more than 2 goals a couple weeks into the season. And then, so yeah, they really need to get the offense going. And then you were also talking about the defense, which has been spectacular so far, really. And a lot of that credit has to go to goalkeeper Mats Rorda. He was named Big East Goalkeeper of the Week after keeping Ryder and Air Force off the board to give the Pirates their first back-to-back shutouts since 2005 to begin a season. He led the team to a new program record in the shutout streak to start a season at more than 332 minutes, which is almost 4 full matches when you do the math. And then he was also named to the Big East Weekly Honor Roll this week after making 8 saves in the Harvard match earlier in the season. So they were also briefly ranked at number 23 in the nation last week. So do you think this high level of defense that they have will be able to fill the void created by their lack of offense in the long run, especially against when they start Big East play this week against Georgetown at home? Georgetown has scored 3 goals in 3 of their 4 games, so they really need to get the defense and offense going. The defense has been going. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, so I think this is how Seton Hall men's soccer plays, though. It's a very defensive game. Andre Swinberg, coach of the team, he says it, that's how they play. They're not going to change up that style just because they might be lacking in certain areas of the field. And you know what? It led them to success last year. They made it to the Big East tournament, and they did all right there. They lost to the team that would eventually win the entire tournament, so it's hard to rank yourself based on that. And then they did have an NCAA tournament appearance as well up in New Hampshire. So it's hard to say that we should be ringing the alarm bells right now. It's hard to say that we should be changing up things all over the place, that this team is lacking the goal scorer, so they should be freaking out. I don't think that's true, because this is how they made success last year, and this is how Andreas Swinberg coaches, and I think the players are going to buy into the system. A lot of them already have, and they score by committee. Especially last year, they didn't have a number 1 goal scorer. They did have Quincy Hireman, but he was trailed right behind the next goal scorer behind him. And so I think you're missing out on some players that might have graduated, but I think you're going to see players step up. Andre Borg loves taking guys on, going down the wing, and Thomas Nunez is very aggressive in that attacking midfield. I think it's going to be okay. I don't think we have to be worried too much about this men's soccer team. I am projecting, even before we go into conference play, you're going to see a Big East tournament appearance. I think they're going to do well there. I think you might even see an NCAA tournament appearance by how they played against those higher-ranked teams, especially Indiana.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting times for all these teams here at the Hall, men's soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. But that will do it for this episode of Hall Talk. For joining Nardone, I'm Nick Masturzo. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.